Hey guys, today we are going to be creating another game in Python, which is Pong Game. This game will be adding in some animations and the end result is super cool. Now playing this game at the end of this video is really fun as well, so please do stay tuned to the end of this video so you can create your own Pong game. Now if you haven't already, please do check out the other videos in this Python projects playlist. We have completed some very cool games using Python, which I think you guys will all love as much as I did. And before we continue with today's video, please don't forget to subscribe to NPStation. We are almost at 12,000 subscribers, so thank you for all of you guys who have subscribed already, and don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. Now let's get coding.
Of things we know.
Hey everyone, welcome back to NPStation. So today, for creating our Pong game in Python, we'll first go ahead and import the turtle module into our Visual Studio Code. Next, what we'll need to do is create a variable called wn, which will stand for our window, and we'll assign it as turtle.screen. Next, we'll go ahead and set the title for our window. Like we always do, we'll name it, I'll name it Pong Game by NPStation. There we go. And also we will add in a background color for our window, and I'm gonna set it to black, like the original Pong game. Next, I think we do these like 4 steps almost in every video of setting the title, the background color, and now we're on the next step, which is setting up the dimensions for our screen. Except for this, we'll set the width of our screen, so width is equal to 800, and then we'll have the not length, we'll have the height be 600. There we go. And after this, we need to use our wn variable to set a tracer, and we'll have 0 in the parentheses. Alright, so next what we need to do is create our main game loop. So this is kind of where our computer will start looking at our code, and this is where it will start. So we'll put in a while loop, and it will have while true, we'll have wn.update. So now that we have this, we can go ahead and run this code to see if everything's working all right so far. Let's try that again. There we go. So now you can see our window has come up. We have a black background, and this is our title up at the top of the window here. So that's exactly how we want it to look like. Now we can continue on. So, like most of you guys may know, in Pong Game we have 3 objects in this game that will show up on the window, and those are the left paddle, the right paddle, which we'll be using to hit the ball, and the ball. So those are 3 objects. So how about we first start off by creating our left paddle. And please do follow along with me in typing this code, because the output is awesome and it's such a cool game to play, especially, to play this game, you'll know that you created it yourself, which is amazing. So if you are following along with me, then please do put in these comments that I'm putting in here. This project has like a lot of code, so make sure to put these comments in as I am doing so as well, because when you have a lot of code and you want to go back to see, it's really easy to tell what this code is for because you have comments labeling it. So now let's go ahead and create a variable called paddle A. So that will be our left paddle, and we'll give the object, which is the turtle object. Now, as you may notice, the T in this turtle here is lowercase because we're using the, that's where we're specifying that we're using the turtle module. You can also see that it's lowercase here as well. And the T here is, in this turtle, is uppercase because it has to be uppercase because this is the object we're going to use. So make sure to do the same. Now what we'll do is we'll use our paddle underscore A, we'll set a shape for it. Or first we'll go ahead and do speed. And in parentheses, we'll just set it to 0. And now we can do our shape. So paddle A dot shape, and we'll do a square. Next, what we need to do is set a color. So paddle A dot color, and I'll set it as white. So we'll have a black background with a white object. So our objects will stand out against the window background. And now we'll need to lift our paddle A up, pen up, because we need to go to another spot on the screen, which is negative 350, 0. So this X and Y value is where our left paddle is going to start off on the screen. That's where it's going to go straight away on the screen before we start playing the game. Alright, so we can go ahead and run this and see if that looks great. Alright, so you can see here that the paddle has come up, but this doesn't really look like a paddle. That's just a small square. So we need to go ahead and fix that shape. So after the color here, we can add paddle underscore A dot shape size. Alright, so in here, the parentheses, we need to give in stretch underscore width is equal to 5. So our width of the paddle will be 5, and then stretch underscore length is equal to 1. Now let's go ahead and run this code and see if it looks right. Awesome, that looks more of a paddle. So now that we know that this code is working for our left paddle, we can go ahead, just copy this. I'll paste it under, and this code will be for our right paddle. So now let's go ahead and change these variables to paddle B for all of them. Alright, and now that we're done with that, let's change this position to positive 350, because it will be on the right hand side. So let's run this, and now we should have our right paddle added in. And this looks great, guys. Awesome. Now let's continue on. So, of course, or let me just go ahead and run this again. As you can see, if I click the up arrows or any key on my keyboard, the paddles are not going to move. And of course they aren't, because we haven't added the code for that yet. So let's go ahead and do that. So right after we've written the code for our right paddle, we are going to put in another comment here, and this is where we'll have in our function. So the comment is called function because here we need to put in some functions for moving our paddles up and down, right? So let's go ahead. You should know that to create a function, we use def, and then we put in the function name. So this function name will be paddle underscore A underscore up. So by the name, you can tell that this code will be for moving our left paddle up. So we'll set our y variable to paddle underscore A dot y core. And then we'll do y plus equals 20. So this line of code is saying that each time we move our paddle A up, we'll move it by 20 pixels. Next, we'll do paddle underscore A dot set y, and we'll set it to our y variable. So next, what we need to do is our paddle underscore A underscore down. So this will be for moving our paddle A down. So again, the same thing, y equals paddle underscore A dot y core. And then we'll do y not plus equals minus equals 20, because if we're going down, we're going in negative direction, right? So we need to go down on the y-axis. That's why it's going to be minus equals 20. And then we'll do paddle underscore A dot set y, and we'll set it to y in the parentheses. Great. And now, how about I just go ahead and copy these? We'll paste them, because here we need to do the same thing except for our paddle B up and paddle B down. And here what we need to change is, actually everything else stays the same. Oh, we also have to change this to paddle B and this. Oh, and we have one right here. Let's go to the bottom one. And that looks good so far. So now that we have the functions for moving our paddles up and down, even if we run this code and press any of the keys on your keyboard, it's not going to move because we haven't set which key we want to move the paddles with. And after our functions, add another comment here. We need to do some keyboard bindings. Alright, here is where we need to put in what keys we are going to use to move each of our paddles up and down. First, as you can see, I've put in a W and .listen. Make sure to put that in too because our computer needs to listen to what the user is going to be clicking on their keyboard to move the paddles. Now we'll use our W and variable to have an on key press, and then in parentheses we'll have paddle underscore A underscore up, comma, and we'll use our W letter key to move our paddle A up. And you may find this on key press familiar because I know that for our fidget spinner video we had used this, right? Because we needed to use the space bar key to turn the fidget spinner. So instead of the W we had written space, right? So now instead, since we're moving it up, we'll just use our W key. And how about we go ahead and run this first and see if it works. So, alright, so let's click that W key, and as you can see, the paddle A is going up and right off the screen as well. So that looks great. Now that it's working, let's copy it and paste it 3 more times. And we need to change this accordingly. So this would be paddle A down. And for the down, we'll use the S letter key. Next, we need to change this to paddle B up, paddle B down. And this will be, so to move our right paddle up, we're going to just use the up arrow key. And notice that the U in up is uppercase. Same thing as the D here. So now we can run this and see if all of our keys are working. So W key, S key, up arrow key, and down arrow key. Alright, and notice that I am running my code after almost every line of code that I am writing in here, where we can see an output in our code, because it's very important to do that. I know that a lot of people, usually, beginners in coding, they write in their whole code, the whole project, and especially this one, it has a lot of code in this. So after all of the code, they type it in and then they run it. They might run into an error. And that makes it so difficult to find where that error is coming from because you've written all your code and then you have to go through and find it again. So one thing, these comments really help with that. And also, just keep on running the code after each line where you can see a physical output on your screen, which is what I'm doing, making sure I'm not getting any errors. And we didn't, so we're all set. So now we have set or created our left and right paddles, and we've also declared how to move them on our screen and what keys we're going to use for that. So now, how about we create our final object in this Pong game? So after our right paddle code, we need to create our ball, right? So it's not a Pong game without the ball. So we need to create our variable. We'll call it a ball. And then we'll set it to turtle.turtle. Again, giving that turtle object for our ball variable. We'll set the speed to 0. Then set the shape. We'll set it to a circle. You can set it to a square as well. Let me fix that spelling there. There we go. And now, after setting the shape, we'll go ahead and set the color as white as well. You can set it to any color you would want. Also for the right paddles, or both of the paddles, and also the background color. Go ahead and set any colors you would like for your project, right? And also, after setting the color, we'll do ball.pen up, and then ball.go to, and we'll go to 0, 0. So to start off, our ball is going to go to the center of our screen, and that's where it will start off, in the beginning of the game. Now we'll also do ball.dx is equal to 0.2 and ball.dy is equal to 0.2. I think these dx and dy, we haven't used those in any of our projects. So this d here, all it stands for is delta or change. So you can also set this as x speed, y speed, but dx and dy work very well. And you can see I've set it as 0.2. So that's going to be the speed of the ball. Which in my computer, it works perfect when it's 0.2. But I do know that this number may be different for you, depending on what computer you're using. I'm not really sure why, but on my other computer, I had to set it to 0.3. You might also need 2. So you might have to just play around with these numbers and see what speed is best for you. But it's, you can just, usually it's either 2, 0.2, or 0.3. So now that we've done that, in our main game loop, in the same indentation as our wn.update, what we need to do here is we've created a ball. Now we'll go ahead and write in the code for moving the ball. Oh, and I forgot. Let's go ahead and run this and see if our ball shows on the screen. To see, all right, so everything's working. We have our ball that's appeared in the center, so that looks great. And now let's work on moving our ball. So let's go back down here. So what we need to do is ball.setX. We'll work with the x coordinate first, and we'll do ball.xcore plus ball.dx. So I'm basically writing what we wrote up here, dx and dy, just in one line down here. And I am going to do the same with the y coordinate. So let's change that accordingly to y core and then dy. All right, looks great. Now after this this code, we need to go ahead and actually, how about we run this and see. So you can see that our ball is moving the upwards direction and right off of the screen. So let me run that again. I don't know if you may have missed it. So it starts at the center and goes all the way up. That is amazing. Now we can also test if it can go down by changing this dy value to negative 0.2. There you go, it's moving down and right off the screen. So, of course, we can't have it do that, like go off of the screen. So we need to fix that. Right after moving the ball, let's do some border checking. All right, so in here, we need to put in the code for having our ball to bounce off of the borders instead of going right off of the screen. So let's put in an if condition, and we'll have ball.ycore is greater than, and let's see here. So up here, we had set the height of our window to 600. So that means half of 600 is 300. So this positive, the upper side of the half will be 300, and this bottom side will be negative 300. So let's go ahead and do, back down here is greater than 290, right? And after that, we'll do ball.setY, and I'm going to set it back to 290, because now I need to do ball.dy times equals negative 1. This last line here, all that does is it makes the ball go back in the opposite direction. So once it bounces off of that border, it will go back in the opposite direction. All right. So we can go ahead and check that and see if it works. So it bounces off. Oh, and I need to change that dy value to positive again because we want to see, we've put the code for going upwards and bouncing off here. All right, and it bounced off and it went back in the opposite direction. So that's great. Since that is working, let's go ahead and copy and paste that for our other if statements. So do one right here, and I will just leave it as copy one more because okay, so now let's go ahead and change this to less than negative 290 because we're dealing with the bottom side of the screen. We'll change this to negative 290 as well. And everything else will stay the same. So let's test that again. Just to show you guys, it will come down and bounce off of this side of the screen. Awesome. Alright, so now that we've done those borders, we need to check if our, x-coordinate borders are working as well. So let's put that code in. So another if condition, we'll do ball.xcore is greater than. Let's check what we put in the width of our window. So it's 800, half would be 400, so positive 400, negative 400. So let's go ahead and do it 390. Alright, so greater than 390, we'll do ball.goTo 0, 0. The reason why we have to do that is if this code right here, we're saying if it bounces off these sides of the screen, the sides of the window, that means that the ball went past the paddle and that player has lost the game. So since it went past the paddle and touched that part of the border, it has to go back to the center of the screen and start the game again. That's why we have the ball.goTo and 0, 0, which is the center of the screen. Now we'll do ball.dx times equals negative 1. Remember, it goes in the opposite direction by putting that code in. And let's run this code. Let me fix this to see, because we did the positive. So if it goes up, it should bounce off of this and go in the opposite direction, or meaning it will bounce off, go back to the center, and then go in the opposite direction. So that worked well, as you saw. Now we can copy that and paste it for the other side of our window. Tab, Control V, and then here we'll do less than negative 390, and then we also need to do, let's see. Actually, yeah, everything else stays the same. So now let's run this and see how our ball bounces off the borders. Bounce here, go back to the center. It should come back in the opposite direction. You can see that this is just going to keep on repeating over and over again. And I can move my paddle to try and block it, but it goes right through it. So let's go ahead and put that code in as well. So now we need to put in the code for the paddle and ball collisions. Awesome. And right here, let's first go ahead and work with our right paddle collision. So I'm also going to put in a comment for that, so we know exactly what code that is for. And now comes a huge if condition. Here there's going to be a lot of code, but I will summarize it right after we type it up. So I'll do ball.xcore is greater than 340 and ball.xcore is less than 350. Close the parentheses, and ball.ycore is less than paddle underscore b.ycore plus 40, and ball.ycore is greater than paddle underscore b.ycore minus 50. So as you just saw, that was a huge if condition. Make sure to put that colon at the end there. And then we'll do ball.setX. We'll set it to 340. And then we need to do that ball.dx times negative 1. So this whole if statement here, all that is doing, it's all the code for wherever the ball touches the right paddle, it has to bounce off of it. So that's the code for that. And then of course when it bounces off, it needs to go back in the opposite direction. So if we run this and see, let's try and get that ball. So, oh, looks like we ran into an error. See, I told you guys it's very important to run your code. I just spelled Y core wrong. So let's look for that. Oh, there it is. Y core. Awesome. So let's run this and hope it works this time. Okay, trying to get the ball. And there you go, guys. You just saw that it bounced off of that paddle. And of course, if we try and get this one, it will go straight through it. But now that we know that this is working, let's go ahead, copy this code, and we need to paste it down here, right, for our left paddle. Left paddle collision. Now we do need to change some things though in our if statement. So almost everything will be the opposite. So it'll be less than negative 340 and greater than negative 350. So everything else is good. And then we have to change this to paddle A dot Y core plus 40 and then paddle A dot Y core minus 50. And over here, we need to set this to negative 340 and everything else will stay the same. So guys, we actually completed our Pong game. So you can see here that you can play a full game of Pong Game now. So as you can see, I'm going to try and dodge or get this ball, make it bounce off. There we go. And that's working as well. So great job, everyone. You have successfully completed your own Pong game in Python. But this kind of needs a little more spice to it, don't you think? One thing that we're missing is the score. We need to have our score written somewhere on this window to see which player has which score, to see, you know, who's winning. So how about we do that next, all right? So after all of our, or before all of our code, right here, right before that left paddle, create another comment called score. So here we'll just have two lists, score underscore A equals 0, and score underscore B equals 0. So there's our two lists, we're setting it to 0, and that is what's going to keep track of our scores, alright? And what we need to do is, I think down here, near the functions in the border checking. So right where we're working with the x coordinate, right after this dx, I'll do this one first. After the ball.dx code, we need to put in score underscore A plus equals 1, right? So whenever the ball hits this side of the window, we're going to add 1 to score player A score. And what we'll also do is the same thing down here. Score underscore B, right, plus equals 1. Awesome. But if we run this, it's still not going to show it anywhere. You can't see the code because we need to actually write something on the screen. So let's go back up here, and I think I'll write it right after, maybe right after the ball code. So put a comment in here. We need to create our pen tool. So we'll set a variable called pen, assign it as turtle.turtle, right? And then here we're going to set that speed to 0. We're going to set the color, set any color you would like. I'm going to set it to white. And then we need to do pen.penup, right? Because we have to also make sure to hide your turtle, because we just want to see the words clearly on the screen. We don't want to see the pen tool. And then we also need to do pen.goto 0,260. So this is where it's going to write, pen.write. Now here is where we need to put in the code for what actually is going to come up on our window. So let's put in player A colon 0. We have like 2 spaces, and player B colon 0. Close the single quotes, and after a comma, we'll put align is equal to center. Make sure that it's in single quotes. And then we just set the font, right? So it will be Courier, comma, oops, let me close that. 24 is going to be our text size, and then we'll have just normal font. Okay, so that is the whole, what it's going to write on the screen. So if you see that, it should come up right at the top there. So that looks great. But let's see okay, so if I miss the ball, so if it hits it, it didn't add any score, or it didn't add 1 to player B's score, but it should have done that, right? Well, really, we haven't written the code for that yet, right? So let's go back all the way down to where we just were, over here in the border checking. So after our score A, we need to put in a pen.clear. And then we also need to copy that code. This line here that we've written. I'm going to copy and paste it down over here after the pen.clear. But we will need to change some things. So where we have 0, take that out and just put in empty curly brackets, and do the same for this 0 over here. And then after the single quotes, put dot format. We need to put in score underscore A, comma, score underscore B. So this is just the format. As you see in this set of parentheses, score A will be placed. In this set of parentheses, score B will be placed. And we're using those lists that we had created all the way up over here. So that number is going to go in those curly brackets. Alright, so we can go ahead and copy this and paste it in here as well. Alright, and everything else we're all set. So let's run this and see if it works. Alright, so I'm gonna get that. And on my computer, I don't know why, but the ball, it sometimes slows down in the middle of the game and then it speeds up back to its normal speed. I'm not sure why, but your computer probably works fine. So as you saw, I missed the ball and it added 1 to player A's score, but it looks like we ran into some error over here. It's overlapping the number. So let's go ahead and see. That was for player B. Oh, I found what I forgot to put in the pen.clear. So, now you probably know, by putting this line, we're making sure that our pen, it gets cleared so that it's not, the next number or score that comes up is not going to overlap the previous score. So I forgot to do that since we're copying and pasting that line of code. But I found it, the issue. And now let's see if it works. So we know that the player A was adding 1 to the score. So I missed it, and you can see it added 1 to player B's score. If I missed this one, it adds 1 to player A's score. So this is great, guys. You guys created an awesome Pong game. If you enjoyed this project, please do leave a big thumbs up for this video and subscribe to NPStation. Share this video with your family and friends so they can create their own Pong game as well in Python. And I hope you guys will have a wonderful winter break. Happy holidays, and I'll see you next time on NPStation.